All right. Am I frozen for anybody, or can you see me? Okay, cool.
I can see you.
All right, guys. We are starting a new unit today. We are going to be talking about Earth's surface. Okay? So, lesson 1 is talking about weathering and erosion. Those are some pretty big words, right? So, I'm putting out your lesson 1 in your folder for today, and you'll be able to read because we're going to talk about some of the vocabulary words that are in here today, okay? But first, we are going to watch a couple of videos about weathering.
Miss Wicker?
Yes.
I don't have the book. Only have the Earth and Space book.
I know, baby. I told you it's in your folder for today.
Hold on.
All right, let's go watch our first video on this. All right, Zeb, mute back for me, okay? Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now listen, pay attention to this because you could hear some vocabulary words in there, okay?
This is Earth, home to 7 billion plus people, 7 continents, and all kinds of amazing plants and animals. This is what Earth has looked like for a long time, and will probably continue to look like for a long time, right? Yes, and no. Sure, this is what Earth looks like from space, but even though it looks pretty much the same from whenever we view it from afar, once you zoom in on it, you can see it's always changing. On a small scale, things like moving water shape the Earth's landforms, the natural features of the Earth's surface. On a bigger scale, the gradual shifting of the Earth's crust is slowly moving even bigger things, like the oceans and the continents. So one day, our planet will look different, maybe a lot different from how it looks now. So how exactly does water shape Earth's landforms? Or to bring it back to the spheres we've been talking about, how does the hydrosphere affect the geosphere? To understand that, we need to discuss weathering. I'm not talking about the weather, like if it happens to be sunny or cold or foggy outside your window right now. I'm talking about weathering, the process that takes place as rocks and other parts of the geosphere are broken down into smaller pieces. Weathering can be caused by water, air, chemicals, plants, or even animals, including us. And there are 2 types of weathering you need to know about: mechanical weathering and chemical weathering. Mechanical weathering is the process of breaking big rocks into little ones. Frost, ice, the roots of plants, running water, or heat from the sun can all cause mechanical weathering. Chemical weathering involves the changes that some substances can cause in the surface of the rock that make it change shape or color. Things like carbon dioxide, oxygen, and acids can all cause chemical weathering. And when rocks have been weathered and all broken down and are later moved by natural forces like wind, water, or ice, that's called erosion. Weathering and erosion sound pretty similar, right? Well, yeah. But not exactly. Think of weathering as the hammer that breaks down the rocks. Erosion is the process that carries those rock fragments away, or put in a way we're all familiar with. Weathering helps make a mess, and erosion helps clean it up. Let's take a trip to the beach to see what part the hydrosphere plays in weathering and erosion. This is a picture taken from space of the coastline of Massachusetts in the northeastern United States. It's part of a landform called Cape Cod, and the picture shows what the beaches and islands around it look like in 1984. Now look at this photo from 2014. What's different? There are actually more islands in 2014 than there were before. Back in 1984, that long strip of land was North Beach. Now, that strip of land has been chopped up into separate islands. The top part is North Beach, the middle area broke off into North Beach Island, and the bottom part is now called South Beach. So, How did that happen? Well, moving water is a major cause of erosion, and there's a lot of moving water in the Atlantic Ocean. The intense energy of ocean waves crashing on shore causes pieces of the rocky, sandy coastline to break into smaller pieces or to weather over time. Then, natural forces like major storms and rising sea levels then move or erode these smaller pieces. Day to day, you might not notice any dramatic changes, but over the course of 30 years, well, as these pictures show, coastlines can change a lot. So, what can we take away from this? Well, we saw that water can weather and erode Earth's landforms, and that's just one example. There are so many others, like floods weathering valleys or glaciers eroding mountains. Let me break it down for you this way. See what I did there? The hydrosphere shapes and sometimes moves the geosphere. One last joke before I sign off. What did the geosphere say to the hydrosphere? You crack me up.
That was a short video.
Yeah, so there were a lot of info in there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the links to the 2 videos we're going to watch today in your folder, in your science folder for today. So that way you can rewatch them to help you answer some questions. So, yes, Leland.
That joke she made was not funny.
I know, that was terrible, wasn't it? So, do you guys understand the difference between weathering and erosion? Okay, let's talk about, and then also the difference between chemical erosion and mechanical erosion. Okay, so one thing that can break a boulder, okay, because I know that something that's on your exit ticket today is going to talk about what types or what things can cause erosion, and then what can cause weathering. Okay, so let's scroll through our book and let's look for some of these vocabulary words. Weathering was one they talked about, right? And that's the process of rock breaking apart. That's called weathering. Mechanical weathering breaks rocks and soil into smaller pieces. Gravity causes rocks to fall down cliffs and break apart. Flowing water can cause rocks to tumble and scrape against each other, right? So like when you're at the beach and it comes up and gets your sandcastle, right? Or if you're at the river and depending on the current or how fast it's flowing, it could cause those rocks to kind of change. So that picture that we just saw of the tree roots, that's a living thing that can cause weathering because it can grow into small cracks in rocks. Have you ever seen your driveway crack or your patio out back crack? That could be because there's a tree close to your house and those roots are trying to get in those cracks, okay? So then when we talk about chemical weathering, I can't talk today, guys. Chemical weathering, that's where chemicals in water and rain that flow through and around rocks can cause weathering, okay? So look at these statues. Look how yucky this one looks. So that's a weathered statue. This is what it looked like to start with, right? So all of the years of rain and pollution and all that yucky stuff that were kind of on the statue, what changed it from this pretty white statue into this one that has like yucky stuff on it. Okay, we talked about erosion, didn't we? That's the process of moving weathered rock from one place to another. So when you read in your book, you are going to be able to see the erosion of rock can be caused by many different natural processes, and this kind of shows you where it would be in the mountain system and in the river stream as you would go through that, okay? So, what we're going to do, we're going to watch one more video today, and then you guys will read your first 5 pages of lesson 1, okay? And then you'll do your exit ticket. All right, let's watch this other video that I've got.
Bam! There you go. That's how we do.
Oh, you got it, you got it. Let me move it out of the way.
Nice! You're good, Zoe. Come on, let's play one more time.
Oh, I really can't. I've got to study for that weathering and erosion quiz tomorrow.
Zoe, playing Super Duo Breaker and Whoosh is just like studying weathering and erosion.
Somehow I think my teacher might disagree.
No. Check it out. In the game, Breaker and Whoosh are a superhero duo. They work together and change the land. Breaker breaks things down, and Whoosh carries them away.
And what does that have to do with studying?
Weathering and erosion work together just like Breaker and Whoosh. They're a scientific super duo. Weathering is the breakdown of materials in the Earth's crust into sediment. If weathering were a superhero, it would be Breaker.
Actually, that sort of makes sense.
Erosion is when weathered rock is carried away by gravity, water, wind, and ice. If erosion were a superhero, it would be Whoosh.
You're right. Weathering and erosion work together and change the Earth, just like a pair of superheroes.
Right. Think of weathering as a superhero that acts in different ways and breaks things down. It breaks down rocks with water. It wears things away with wind. It can even scorch or freeze the Earth with temperature, cracking and breaking it apart. When weathering acts like this, it's called physical weathering.
Wow.
That's only the beginning. There's another whole side to weathering's personality. Chemicals in the air mix with water to make acid rain that eats away at limestone rocks. Oxygen reacts with iron and forms rust. That's chemical weathering.
Then, after weathering is done breaking things down, his trusty sidekick, Erosion, steps in.
Yep. Erosion swoops in and picks up the pieces, carrying them away. Erosion knows how to move, and it does it all sorts of ways. It's the flow of water that moves rocks and sand, the push of the wind that carries sediment away, even the movement of a glacier dropping pieces of rock at the bottoms of oceans and lakes.
Glaciers move?
Yeah, glaciers are giant moving rivers of ice. They carry along pieces of rock and then drop them as they move. It's called deposition because the glacier is making a deposit.
Weathering and erosion really are like a super duo. Who knew?
You knew. You just needed to stop playing all those video games and think.
Oh, look who's talking.
So, you want to play another game?
Let's see if I've got this weathering and erosion song and dance down first. Weathering and erosion work together and change the environment. Weathering breaks things down and can be physical or chemical. Erosion actually moves the sediment that weathering leaves behind. Together, they're constantly changing our environment.
Looks like someone just got all their studying done.
Thanks to your help.
We're a pretty super duo ourselves.
All right, so that kind of went over some of the same stuff from the other video, right? About erosion. Everybody still awake? Okay, so what we're going to do today, let me look. So that way I can put in there exactly which pages you're going to read. Okay, so we're going to read pages 1 through 5 on your link. Let me go over here and update your assignment for your class. Okay. So let me share my screen on this so you guys can see. Where? I got way too much stuff open. Okay, so for today's resources, you've got your exit ticket. Here's your book, and I'm going to go ahead and put in there what pages you need to read in the book, and then I'm going to link to these other 2 videos, and all of that will help you answer your exit ticket. It's 4 questions, okay? Does that sound good to everybody? We good with that? All right, give me a few minutes to get that stuff added to it, and then you guys can go and get to work, and I will see you at math class tomorrow. Whee! Who do I need to give the boot? Selah, do I need to give you the boot?
Why do you want us to leave?
Well, guys, I'm trying to keep my kids under control as much as possible, so I'm trying to get my stuff done pretty quick on science, okay? So we actually pretty much contained them during math, but I'm losing control at this point. They're in their room hollering at each other. Right? All right, Ryan, I'm going to give you the boot. See you in the morning.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Trey, I'm so glad you got in. Yay. All right. Jamari, do I need to give you the boot?